Our next speaker, Peter Ottsjö. Give it up.
Hur använder jag den här då?
Click away.
Hi, I'm Peter. I'm a tech journalist at daytime. So I work at a newspaper called Ny Teknik, where I actually nowadays mostly write about artificial intelligence, but I cover other stuff as well. And then by night, I'm a longevity enthusiast. So a few years ago, I wrote a book called Evigt Ung, that would be Forever Young in English, which is, you can say a lot of things about that book, but you could kind of summarize it with, it's a book about the past, present, and future of longevity. And after the book, I've started a podcast together with Patrik Lindén, who also is an author and a philosopher who wrote a fantastic book called The Case Against Aging, which you all should read if you haven't already. It's also available in Swedish. And if you want to subscribe to our channel, there's the QR code. You can also ask me afterwards. I also have a newsletter where I write about longevity. And there's the QR code for this as well. But again, if you want to know more, you can ask me afterwards. So the biology revolution. So here's the thing. When Linus asked me to give a talk today, he asked me to, can't you incorporate some cool AI tools to show what's possible today? You know, not in biology, but just everyday tools that we can use. And so I thought about that because I wanted to actually talk a little bit about the biology side as well. But I thought I could combine them. So actually, this talk is mostly written by AI. I'm a person, and I'm not a robot. We haven't come that far yet, but I let my AI avatar describe what this talk is about.
Imagine getting a century of medical breakthroughs in less than a decade. It sounds like science fiction, but it's already starting to happen. Today I'm going to show you how artificial intelligence is transforming biology and medicine in ways we never thought possible. I'll share 5 remarkable stories from the cutting edge: a language model that can read and write the code of life, a Nobel Prize-winning system that solved a 50-year-old biological puzzle, gene editing tools designed by AI, and more. These aren't just incremental improvements. They represent a fundamental shift in how we do science. Then I'll explain why this is just the beginning, and why the next few years might bring more medical progress than the entire 21st century would have delivered without AI.
I think he's promising too much. And also, I can't speak English that good. But you can imagine that you could use this in all sorts of ways. Malignant, of course, but also in very positive ways. I could, for example, do this talk in lots of different languages, and more people could take part. So yeah, about the AI in biology stuff, there's a lot of things happening right now. It's not just AlphaFold, as we heard about just now, and which I will get back to. We also have language models being made now for biology. And here's the company. They've trained a language model to kind of speed up evolution, if you will. So they trained on data from evolutionary data, and then they can use a language model to kind of predict what would happen in the future. If you could speed up evolution, what kinds of proteins could be made? And they actually managed to make a protein that they claim is several million years ahead, so to speak. So that's cool, and this language model can reason over both structure and function and sequence at the same time. It seems quite powerful. It has been trained on 98 billion parameters, so it's small if you compare it to one of the frontier models today, but still it's quite big if you just go back a few years. Yeah, of course. So we have the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2024. You just heard a lot about that. So I'm not going to repeat it, but I'd say two things. The first thing is that Demis Hassabis, I think, is the first video game developer winning a Nobel. So that's cool. But the other thing was that we heard that this is something that structural biologists thought wouldn't happen in their lifetime. They didn't see it coming. Okay? This happens time and time again in science. People say, oh, there's no chance of that happening anytime soon. And then, all of a sudden, it does. So keep that in mind when we go through this talk. Another cool example is that you could actually use artificial intelligence to try to come up with CRISPR, new CRISPR versions that maybe are more beneficial, have less off targets, and so on. So CRISPR is a gene editing tool, but it can be a little bit imprecise. It has disadvantages. So they're trying to use AI to figure out better versions of CRISPR. Of course, in silico is a darling in the longevity community because its CEO, Oleg Shavorenkov, is a longevity enthusiast. And he told me when I talked to him just recently, and he told me that the only reason why he's doing what he's doing is because he wants to live forever and he wants to solve aging. So he's quite cherished in the longevity community. And so he's the CEO of In Silico, but he also does the ARDD conference in Copenhagen, Biotech Longevity Conference. He's a co-organizer. But In Silico, they are doing a lot of things. I think they're mostly associated with speeding up drug development and using AI to come up with completely new molecules. And so they have actually made an AI design a molecule that is for idiopathic lung fibrosis, I think it's called. That is now has gone through a phase 2 trial with positive results. And this has been quite a fast development. So I think when we talk about AlphaFold, that's of course a monumental achievement, but AI in drug discovery is here and now as well. Yeah, so there was an essay recently by a guy called Dario Amodei. He's the CEO of a leading AI company called Anthropic, where he kind of laid out his vision for the next decade. And the interesting thing is that OpenAI CEO Sam Altman also laid out his vision for the next decade. They did it only a few weeks apart. And if you look at both of these CEOs' visions for the next decade, it's very similar, and it's very, very crazy. So they're talking about that we could possibly reach artificial general intelligence in the 2030s, maybe even sooner. But 2030s, I would say they're pretty, they do agree on that that's possible. And one of the things that Dario Amodei does in his essay that is so great is that a lot of people think that, oh, so artificial intelligence is just pattern recognition, crunching big data, doing analytics. But what he's seeing, if you reach general intelligence, that means that you could use these AI systems the same way you would do a human, very capable scientist. But they can work all day and all night. They don't need to rest and so on. And you can make a lot of copies of them. And so he's talking about more like that you'd have a virtual biologist doing science. And I think that's plausible. And I also think that, of course, as I used so much AI to do this presentation, this is a Mid-Journey image. So that's a generative AI tool that you can use to make images. And there's a robot here. And I think a few years ago, my view of this was that, yeah, we could probably have general intelligence quite soon, but they won't be embodied, right? They will be on computer systems, but they won't look like this. And now I've changed my view on that. I actually think that we will also have humanoid robots quite soon. Has been an explosion in development in humanoids over the past couple of years. You've probably heard of Tesla doing a humanoid robot, Elon Musk saying that that will be their biggest product ever, and so on. So I think it's quite plausible that we'll actually have robots doing science quite soon. And one of the things that might happen if you reach that point where we'll have generally capable systems, you will speed up science. Of course, you can't speed up clinical trials and so on, but you will speed up discovery. So much of science so far has happened serendipitously, right? By random chance, we're figuring stuff out. But one of the things that you have when you have general systems is that you can multiply it. You can search a almost infinite vast space of possibilities. And so it's plausible, I think, and this is what the leading AI companies are saying as well, that we could speed up discovery tenfold, right? And so to continue this AI-generated presentation, I don't know if you've heard of a tool called Notebook LM. Yeah, some of you have heard about it. It's a tool from Google. So what you can do is you take any type of text, scientific article, PDF of some sort, you paste it in, and you ask Notebook to generate a podcast. Okay? So I took Dario Amodei's essay where he talks about the next decade, and I made it into a podcast. And it's like 10 minutes, so I edited it down so it's a few minutes here, and you can listen to it.
All right, so today we're going to dive into something pretty fascinating.
Okay.
We're going to be exploring all the potential upsides of advanced AI. Mm-hmm. And, you know, our guide for this is Dario Amodei.
Okay.
Who is the CEO of Anthropic, a company that is very much known for their work on AI safety research.
Right.
So you would think someone so deep in AI risk mitigation would be, you know, all doom and gloom.
Yeah.
But actually his recent essay, Machines of Loving Grace, paints a much more optimistic picture.
He outlines 5 key areas where he believes AI could lead to radical improvements.
Right.
Biology and physical health, neuroscience, and mental health, economic development, and poverty, peace, and governance, and work, and meaning.
Wow, that's quite a range.
It is.
Let's start with the one that probably impacts all of us most directly.
Yep.
Biology and health.
Right.
Amodei throws out this term, the compressed 21st century.
Yeah.
Which sounds pretty mind-blowing.
It is. He believes that AI could compress 50 to 100 years of biological progress
Okay.
into just 5 to 10. We're talking about curing Most diseases potentially even doubling the human lifespan.
Whoa, hold on, doubling the human lifespan.
Yeah.
That sounds like something out of a sci-fi novel.
It does, but think about it. Life expectancy nearly doubled during the 20th century.
That's true.
Amodei points to discoveries like CRISPR, advanced microscopy, mRNA vaccines.
Right?
All of these have already revolutionized biology.
Yeah.
He argues that with AI's assistance, the pace of such breakthroughs could increase tenfold.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this compression works.
Yeah.
But what would a world with such drastically extended lifespans even look like?
That's a huge question, and one Amodei acknowledges it raises all sorts of societal implications.
For sure.
Imagine the impact on healthcare systems, social security, the concept of retirement.
Right. Would we even need retirement if we're living to 150?
Right.
It's almost like we need to reinvent society from the ground up.
Exactly, and those are questions that Amodei believes we need to start grappling with now. But even setting aside lifespan, the potential impact on disease is enormous.
Yeah.
Imagine your children growing up never having to worry about cancer, Alzheimer's, or even the common cold.
That's a future I think we'd all like to see.
It is.
But how exactly would AI achieve this?
Right.
Is it just about crunching data faster?
It's more than that. AI would be designing and running experiments, inventing new tools and techniques, even coming up with entirely new biological paradigms we haven't even thought of yet.
So it's not just a faster scientist.
Yeah.
It's like having millions of brilliant, tireless researchers working around the clock.
Precisely.
Yeah. So that's also something I think a lot of people can have a lot of use of. I just should caution, though, that Ny Teknik, the newspaper I work for, we actually tried this with some of our articles, and it hallucinated quite a bit, and so it wasn't accurate. So that's something to think of if you take a scientific paper and you put it on YouTube or whatever, that you really have to actually listen to what they say. But I thought that this passage here was quite accurate, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so this is not some Steve Jobs fun thing. It's just that another QR code. So I made a little, again, with the help of AI, a little summary of what I've talked about and links to those companies that I mentioned in the talk. So yeah, that's it for me. Thank you.